It's game night, and the last person in your regular group just canceled on you. Now you're sitting at your table with your game books, ready to play, but no one else is available. You could pack everything up and wallow in the intense disappointment of a potential evening of awesomeness, squandered by shifting schedules. Or you could dip into a little solo role-playing. Hi, I'm Steve Morrison, Game Master and solo player of Errant Adventures, and this is my introduction to solo role-playing. Now, I'm pretty sure I can hear what you're going to say. Solo role-playing? How does that work? Or maybe even, why would I want to play a game by myself? These are valid questions, and the answers might surprise you. Why play an RPG solo? Why read a book or play a single-player video game? To experience a character, a story, a world. Solo role-playing lets you do that through the lens of your favorite tabletop games. So that's the why. Now it's time to dive in and get your play on. And really, this is the best part, because when you play solo, you set your schedule. No worrying about matching other people's schedules or finding the right time when everyone can engage. If you are free, you can play. But maybe you are free and you have everything set to go, and when you sit down to play, you're at a loss. What comes next? How do I start? As with most of this, the answer depends on what interests you. Sometimes all you need is to roll on an oracle. We'll talk more about those later in the video. Get some inspiration and let the ideas flow. I like to start with my character. I think about who they are, where they've been, and maybe even where I want them to go, generally speaking. Then I start applying mechanics of my chosen system to build them out, while occasionally taking breaks to expand their background as much as I need to get started. And I think this is an important point for world building and character building alike. Only build as much as you want and need to get started. If that's 3 words of personality and a character sheet, go for it. The important thing is to recognize the difference between having just enough information to get started and feeling like you need to have every detail planned out and prepared before you can start. You can't have wondrous adventures if you don't take your first steps. Once I have my character, I think about their place in the world I'm using and what their starting point is. For Season 1, I generated everything on the fly, including the world, using the wonderful tools in Ironsworn Starforged. I didn't know anything about the universe before I started, and that was part of the fun for me. For Season 2, I wanted to switch genres from sci-fi to fantasy, and I have a world I've been writing stories in for almost 10 years. I put a lot more work into organizing my world building before I started the season, because I wanted to have a foundation to build off of. Once I had my foundation, I decided that the Crest, the mercenary company my Season 2 main character joins, had just come to Heartvale, basically Fantasy Venice, and Ben, my character, was just returning to Heartvale after a war with a neighboring city-state. He didn't know what to do with himself, and he remembered coming across Crest mercenaries during the war, so he joined up with the company to see what fortunes befell him. That was my inciting incident. Everything that followed came about through play or rolling on oracles between sessions to generate new contracts. Ultimately, find the conflict point that is most interesting for you and leverage it into your play. And because you're playing solo, you can play for 5 minutes or 5 hours. If you need to take a break to consider a prompt and what it could mean for your character, do it. Go for a walk, take a nap. There is something incredibly freeing in walking away from a tough choice for an hour, a day, a week, and really marinating in it. That is play too, just a different mode. I think the most important thing to remember when looking for a place to stop is to, if you can help it, not end on a down note. A trick I use when I'm writing is to take a break in the middle of a sentence. That way, when I pick it back up, I never have to wonder where to start. I just have to finish the sentence and I'm back into it. Of course, this will depend on how you're recording your play sessions. Works great for journaling, maybe not so much for recording audio. Similarly, ending on a cliffhanger is a time-honored tradition for creating momentum that will carry you through to the next scene. The true secret to success in any endeavor is making it as easy as possible to get started. If you can get started, you can do anything. Now, how can it be fun to run a game by yourself? Don't you have to know where the story's going? Don't you have to spend hours prepping the adventure? No, that's what an oracle does. It helps you generate the narrative as you play. And let me tell you, it has completely revolutionized my view of game prep. I used to think I had to plan pages upon pages of content for my players, but after years of generating stories with oracles, I don't really prep anymore, even when I'm GMing for a group. No, I just make sure I have an oracle standing by to help inspire me. So what oracles should you use? There are plenty to choose from, so let me tell you about the ones I've used and what I like about them. The Mythic GM emulator. This is the big one. It is probably the most popular GM emulator or oracle out there. It has a couple of variations and a new edition that just recently came out, but I'm going to talk about the basic version, the blue book. Using Mythic involves setting a scene and deciding on the chaos factor, basically a numeric value that influences how likely you are to get a yes or no answer when you ask a question during the scene. Once your scene is set and you determine how it starts, you play out the scene as normal. Anytime you have a question about what comes next in the story, it's time to ask the fate chart. You roll percentile dice and compare it to the matrix on the fate chart to determine if it's an exceptional yes, just a regular yes, a no, or an exceptional no. And that's about it. Except not really. There's a lot of depth in Mythic, and it's definitely worth checking out. Ironsworn Ask the Oracle. Ironsworn is probably the most comprehensive solo RPG out there. While the Mythic GME can be used with any game, Ironsworn is built with all the tools you might need to solo RP, but it also comes with an implied setting of dark, gritty survival fantasy. The Ask the Oracle chart is similar to Mythic in that you ask it yes-no questions, but instead of a sliding scale, it uses a set group of percentages ranging from almost certain, 11 or greater, to small chance, 91 or greater, for a yes answer. If you roll doubles on the percentile dice, a twist or extreme result occurs. These are the yes-no oracles I have used for my games, but a good yes-no oracle isn't the only key to success when playing solo. It's important to build a stable of oracle tables that offer prompts for your interpretation and that fit within the genre and feel you're going for with your game. Verb noun tables. Mythic has the action and subject table. Ironsworn has the action and theme. You roll percentile dice twice, pull a result off each table, and interpret those prompts within the context of your scene. For example, you're delving an ancient ruin and you come upon an undefined feature. You roll on Ironsworn's action and theme tables and get 79 effect and 94 path. That could mean any number of things depending on your particular world, but the first thing that comes to my mind is a secret door. Your character finds it, and now you have a new area to explore. List tables. These are tables of random items, places, names, and other prompts. The Book of Random Tables, created by Matt Davids. These books are a cornucopia of random options for practically any genre you want to play. For example, in the first science fiction book, there's a table for spaceport bar rumors. My adventurers are hanging out in a bar and maybe they're not sure what to do next, or maybe I just want to add texture to the scene. So I roll percentile dice and get 16, celebrity found dead. Ooh, do I smell a new job for my investigator? Or does my hitman get a thrill knowing their handiwork has been found? One prompt opens a whole world of possibilities. Maze Rats. This is a lightweight fantasy RPG, and the random tables in there I've used extensively for Season 2 of my show. Unlike the other tables we've looked at, this system uses 2d6. Let's make a quick magic spell. I get a 5 and a 1 on the spell formula table, and that gives us a physical element plus a physical form. Checking each of those tables, I get a 6 and a 1, thorn, and 5 and 3, shield. Immediately, I have a vision of my mage drawing on the plant life around her and creating a thorny barrier to keep a melee fighter at bay. Ironsworn. Again, as a game that is built for solo play, Ironsworn contains tables for determining locations, characters, and even enemy combat actions. It really is an all-in-one system. The Universal NPC Emulator. This is a system for quickly defining and building NPCs with lists of tables that define roles, power levels, motivations, and moods. There are plenty of other random tables out there, and I encourage you to find them. Part of the fun of playing solo is finding all these different lists of random tables. Maybe you even want to make your own. Go ahead, do it. Once I've wrapped up a session, I like to take a few minutes to reflect on what happened. Because I'm recording my sessions, I write notes to myself about what happened and any important events, characters, or things that came up during the session. This is incredibly important to me for future retention and reference, because it's a lot easier for me to scan through a half page of notes for the description of an NPC that I randomly rolled up than it is for me to find the exact timestamp on my recording. I also like to take this time to think about how the session felt. Did I enjoy myself? Were there things that came up that frustrated me? Self-care is just as important when playing solo, if not more important, as it is when playing with a group. It's okay to realize after the fact that you didn't like a particular moment or way your session progressed. It's even okay to make a note to yourself to change the trajectory of the story in your next play session. Undo, redo, rewind, whatever you need to do. This is your story and your story alone. And because of that, you don't have to waste time on stuff you don't enjoy. Hopefully, this has illuminated the process for playing RPGs solo, and it will be helpful for you on your journey into the world of solo play. Now go forth and play.